Today, I am honored to introduce you to Dr. Sohee Carpenter. Sohee is a phenomenal coach and wildly successful entrepreneur, but more importantly, she's one of the most thoughtful, empathetic, and hardworking individuals I've ever met. Sohee has been doing online fitness coaching since 2012 and has helped thousands upon thousands of women get stronger, healthier, more confident, and improve their relationship with food and their body. Sohee is someone I will reference when my daughters are looking for inspiration as they get older, and I'm blessed to have her here with me today. Dr. Sohee Carpenter, welcome to the podcast.
That was a really great, you've done your homework.
I try.
Yeah, I was like, okay. I love learning more about myself. That was really good.
So we're just going to start off. Very simple
Yes.
question. Who are you?
I got to work on my answer to this because I'm always like, you tell me. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, you're leaving this open-ended on purpose, I can tell.
Yes.
I would say, I'm going to answer from a career standpoint first. I consider myself a fitness educator, first and foremost. And I use social media primarily as my vehicle to help spread knowledge on what I consider to be realistic and obviously science-based fitness and health information. It's something I've been doing for a long time. So we've both been doing for a really long time. We actually connected when we were both in college in like 2011, 2012 timeframe. So I've been doing this for a long time. But I also, I love being like a really good wife. I love being a good pet mom. I love being a really good friend, a family member. So those things are also really important to me. And I also love walking the walk, being a role model. So I love talking about fitness and health things, but it's also obviously super important to me that I'm actually doing those things as well. So I like showing that. So for me, it's a really big, I'm really big on doing the work and showing up even when life circumstances are not perfectly aligned. So sometimes that means getting in a shorter workout. Sometimes that means using equipment that are quite limited, but you're still making it work. Sometimes that means making a quick meal with, rotisserie chicken for your protein or a protein shake instead of a perfectly cooked steak or whatever for the sake of time, things like that. But what matters is that you are consistent over time and you're looking after yourself and you're focusing on the big rock. So that's really what I'm all about.
I love rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, it's
which is
great.
pretty controversial
Yeah.
apparently, but
Which surprises me, but it also doesn't,
so
given the fear. I feel like in the world, the nutrition fear mongering era is very strong right now.
Yes.
And I'm sure you feel it too. It feels like a constant, never-ending misinformation battle. Mm-hmm. But rotisserie chicken is a fast, convenient, easy, cost-effective option for protein that is delicious. That's my stance on it.
Completely
and versatile too. So
yes,
I'm a big fan.
What misconceptions do people have about you? Did you know that question was coming?
No, but I will. I'm going to give you a like a lighthearted one because the first thing that came to mind is I get a lot of people who meet me and they say, "Oh, I thought you'd be taller."
Really?
And I'm like, why would you think that? I'm 5'2". I've always said I was 5'2". And they're like, I don't know. In videos, you look taller. And I'm like, you know what? It's because I have a longer torso and shorter legs, maybe.
Interesting.
I don't know. Or maybe I have a tall personality. I have no idea. But I'm like, no, I have to get hem all my leggings every single time. So no, I'm short. That's probably the most common one that I get. I think that's really the same, the main one.
Okay.
But
it's your height.
Yeah, and then as far as the thing that isn't a misconception, which I'm very happy about, is when people meet me, a lot of times I've had people say, you look exactly the same. You look like you jumped right out of my phone. And I'm like, well, that's good because I don't Photoshop my photos or anything, or I don't use posing or anything like that. I don't want people to get an unrealistic impression of me or what like someone who's in the industry could look like. Yeah, they could look like me, and you can still run a marathon and lift, several days a week and do all these things, and you don't have to be like super jacked or super ripped or anything like that, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. So I like that.
I love that.
What would you say? I don't know.
I'm not in your DM. Okay. I have no idea.
No,
I don't know.
I don't really get a lot of feedback about misconceptions about me or anything like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. What is something you used to believe but no
Oh,
longer
so many
doing anymore?
things. I will tell you, okay, the first one that came to mind, because I really flipped my stance on this almost completely opposite direction. I remember when I was in college, this is maybe like 2010, 2011. This is before I had a fitness blog, but I was still in fitness as a hobby. I remember, I would go to class and then I would like put my workout in my calendar, like in between this class and this class, I'll go to the gym and do a 45-minute workout, then da, 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 da. And then to me, it was easy, right? Like workouts are fun. It's a natural part of my life. I've been exercising consistently for over 20 years now. And so back then, I remember I was very judgmental of people who were in bigger bodies. And I wrote a Facebook post on my personal profile at the time talking about people with obesity being lazy and undisciplined.
You did?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
in 2011. And of course, you're young, you're not as aware, you don't know, you don't always understand the obstacles that other people face. And then, of course, as I got older and you learn more, now I look back and I'm mortified that I used to think that way. I genuinely thought, wow, they don't care about their health. They can't stop eating extra food. They can't do this. And now I'm obviously extremely empathetic. You understand that there are hardworking people who are very disciplined, who still struggle with their weight for various reasons. And it has nothing to do with their moral value, or in some cases, it doesn't actually speak to a lot of times their actual health status. You can't always tell what their health status is by someone's body size. So that's kind of where I am now. That's probably the biggest thing.
Was there a moment that shifted for you?
I wouldn't say there was a specific moment. It was more of a gradual shift over the years. And it happened kind of at the same time that I started questioning the necessity of rigid calorie counting and meal plans for everyone. So that was another thing that I changed my mind on. I was big on strict meal plans because that's what I was taught. When I was hiring coaches on my own, they gave me strict meal plans. Even when I was in college, where you don't have full control over what you have access to in the college dining halls. And I thought, okay, well, if you want to make it work, you have to eat 6 egg whites, 40 grams of oats, and 40 grams of fresh or frozen blueberries. You get a choice there every single morning. And if you don't, you obviously don't want this bad enough. And that was the message that I was taught. So that's kind of what I knew, and you pass that on to everyone, other people. And then as I continued my college career, I was like, I'm struggling more and more with the nutrition adherence thing, and I couldn't understand why it was so hard for me. When I'm like, I get good grades, I do well in school, I'm at a prestigious university, so why do I feel like I'm failing here? And it took me until probably my senior year of college, which is when I was 22, 21, 22, to realize, oh, maybe it's not a discipline problem. Maybe there's something in the behavior change department that I'm not understanding. And sure enough, that's kind of what happened there. So, over time, again, I would say this is the course of probably like 12 years, like very, very slowly, I started understanding it's not always about trying harder. It's about unlocking the power of behavior change and habits so that you can work smarter and make things actually feel more seamless and not so cumbersome. And then that's kind of where I am now. Yeah. So, and then of course you start to work with people from all walks of life. You start to actually listen to their obstacles, and you realize, okay, having something come easily to me doesn't mean that everyone else is going to find it similarly easy. So when I say like get out of bed and do this run and do this and do this, and someone is living with chronic pain or chronic illness, they're like, okay, cool, but it takes me 30 minutes to get out of bed because everything hurts. I don't have that lived experience, but as someone who does live in a healthy, able-bodied body, I can say, oh, I can imagine what that's like. Well, I can only imagine. That's literally all I can do. But I would never place the same expectations on that person that I would on me. And then, of course, I start learning more about the research on weight stigma and similar topics. And you realize, okay, shaming someone for their body size is actually doing the opposite of what a lot of people think it does, where it is harming their mental health. They're actually more likely to binge eat and consume excess calories. They are more likely to avoid exercise and other healthy habits. And I'm now thinking, okay, if you know this, if you truly want to help someone, you should know that this is not the answer. But more so from a humanity standpoint, why would you want to treat someone like that? So I'm happy now that I know better, thankfully, and also really grateful to have the social media audience that I do, to where I can spread these messages and feel like it is reaching at least some people, and hopefully will make a positive impact in that way.
I think
Yeah.
one thing that people overlook and don't understand about shame is, like, I see in comments all the time, bring back shaming, bring back shaming. And I think either they just don't understand, or they're willfully ignorant, or the people who they're shaming are shaming themselves all day, every day. They have this internalized shame all the time that they
Yeah.
feel bad about. It's like, if you think you're adding positivity, or you think you're actually contributing to them improving their life by shaming them, if shame works, they would have already done it, because they
Right.
shame themselves all day, every day. And I think you bring up a great point, that when we're looking at the research around shame, it doesn't actually positively affect. We could say a very tiny percentage of people might have a good response to it, and from the perspective it might change their behavior. But the vast majority, like 97% of people, are going to have negative
Yeah.
responses and worse
Yeah.
behavior
And
outcomes.
the other thing to add to that too is, even if you do get them, at least for the time being, to eat less and then consequently lose weight, what have you done to them in terms of their mental well-being, and how's their self-confidence? And not to mention, the people who have lost the most amount of weight, who have been in formerly bigger bodies, they are oftentimes the people with the most fear of weight regain. So they are oftentimes the most fat phobic. And I don't feel like it's a stretch to say that the weight stigma contributes in a large part to that, because they're like, okay, but when I was bigger, everyone treated me worse. And now I'm smaller and they're treating me better, which is a very real thing. So now I'm even more terrified of getting the weight back. So even though I am a smaller weight, maybe now I'm more willing to resort to unhealthy behaviors to maintain the smaller size. But people now think I'm healthy because I'm leaner. I weigh less, even though in some ways I'm not. So that's kind of my argument there. But definitely it's a heated topic, and I feel like I see this come up on social media all the time, where people are like, if someone's overweight, how do you politely tell them? And I feel like people are copying pasting this all over threads, because I'm like, I see this every week. This conversation is, and to me, my response is always the same. Again, people know, they know you don't have to point out their body size, but if you are truly concerned about their health, there are more compassionate, empathetic, effective ways to go about it without making their body size the forefront of the issue.
So how would you go about it? Let's say,
Oh, that's so tricky. So first of all, obviously you want to make sure that you have a good relationship with that person. If you don't really know that person very well, I would say it's not your business, leave it alone. But I would try to understand more, maybe the context of what might be going on in their life. And again, do not assume that their body size alone is what makes them unhealthy. Oftentimes there is an underlying reason, and maybe that's the thing that needs to be addressed. So is there like a health complication? Is there a mental health issue that's going on? And if that's the case, ask them, are you doing okay? Is there anything going on in your life? And then if they bring it up, you can say, okay, can we address that thing? Or how can I support you in that thing, right? Or if it is a size issue and maybe they hate exercising, try to understand, why is that? Oh, because every time I show up at the gym, I get mocked and bullied, or people, they snicker at me. I can tell that they're looking at me in a certain way, and it makes me not want to go. Okay, can we create a safe environment for you where you can show up and exercise in a judgment-free zone? Or like, hey, can I go on a walk? Do you want to go on a walk together? That's still something. Or you don't know how to cook nutritious meals. Let's cook a meal together. I would love to teach you. Whatever it is, that's the angle that I would take. And also, I think the harder thing too is you cannot force someone to change who does not want to change.
yes.
Right? So continually nagging them and pushing them to do something that they're not actually ready to do is not going to be effective, and it's only going to create more frustration for you. So the other bigger thing that I do is lead by example. And you don't have to verbalize, hey, come do this with me. But every now and then you're like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym. Do you want to come join me? And that's what I do with some of my family members. When I feel they're more resistant or more reluctant to do certain things, I model the behavior and I kind of leave an open invite. You can come with me if you want. I'm doing this exercise. Do you want to try it? And it actually, to me, I found over time, it oftentimes really does work. Where they'll be like, okay, I'll try one set. Or, you know, I don't know how to cook nutritious meals. Cool. Here's a dense bean salad recipe that I love. Do you want to try it? Okay, I'll try it. Oh, it's great. Yum. Great. Now do more of that.
I think usually this is relevant to people and their family members. Most people aren't looking at someone who's a stranger and being like, how do I get that person to change? It's usually someone close to us. And one thing I found with family members, there's a reason why generally doctors don't operate on their family members. There's too much emotion there. And I feel like when someone has someone they really care about, oftentimes their empathy cup is actually a little bit lower. They don't have as much empathy for that person compared to maybe a complete stranger, which I do find interesting. So I love the just living your life and modeling it and being a good example. One thing I have found, though, is someone that you're really close to, many people are very quick to critique when they do something wrong, but they don't go over the top to say when they've done something well.
Yeah.
And so if someone isn't exercising or they are, let's say they go and they have ice cream or whatever it is, and you're just like, oh, really, you're having the ice cream again? But if you see them drinking water, you don't say anything because in your mind you're like, well, that's what they're supposed to be doing. And so I found going over the top to reinforce positively the good behaviors has been something that I've found for both me personally and others have worked really well. And to your point around they're not going to change unless they want to, I think many people they insert their opinion without first asking.
Yes.
And if it could be as simple as, hey, listen, I want to sit down with you because I love you. I want to have a real conversation with you.
Yeah.
Is this something that you want to change? Do you want to change your body size? Do you want to change your health habits? Is that something you want to? Because if you don't, I'm going to stop talking right now.
Yeah.
If you do, let's have a discussion. And almost every time they'll be like, no, I know, I want to make a change.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What can I do to help with that? I think are simple ways to lead the discussion rather than just saying, hey, do this, hey, do that, you're not doing the right things, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I do think that having more of a coaxing approach rather than a forcing approach is more effective. And then to your point regarding complimenting people and praising them, that's the approach that I use with my mom, who it doesn't live in a bigger body, but this approach works, I think, for anyone who's having trouble picking up healthy habits. So for her, when I try to get her to lift, I always say, hey, do you want to come lift with me in obviously my private gym, nice comfortable environment, play whatever music she wants to play, and I don't overcorrect her form, but you lavishly compliment the stuff she does well to make it a fun environment for her, build her confidence, and building what's called self-efficacy, which refers to your belief in your own ability to do things. So self-efficacy is a huge component of continued health behavior maintenance. So if people feel like they can do the thing, they're more likely to keep showing up. And that's the momentum you want to build. You want to build the success momentum where they feel good. They're like, okay, now I want to come back. And then next time they come back, maybe they're willing to try a little bit more or try something harder or go for a little bit longer. And you want to build on that over time. So I'm a huge believer in positive reinforcement for that reason. Yeah.
One thing I'm very excited to talk about with you, your new study was recently published and it compared high-intensity circuit training to traditional strength training.
Yes.
What surprised you about the results?
Okay, so let me give you a bit of background on this study. First of all, it was my first author study.
Congratulations.
Which was pretty cool. By the way, there is so much freaking work that goes into publishing a paper.
I believe it.
Huge respect to anyone who publishes on a regular basis because that is arduous. Okay, so what we did was a huge part of my PhD was comparing what you said, high-intensity circuit training compared to traditional strength training. High-intensity circuit training is, as we all know what circuit training is when you do a sequence of exercises back-to-back with little to no rest. But the high-intensity nature of this means that every set was pushed close to muscular failure. Okay? I think this is distinct from the way that a lot of women train, where they do the circuits, they have the short rest, they have the high reps, but they don't push as hard as they could. Right? So I was there for virtually every single session. And so we had 6 exercises for both conditions, same 6 exercises. They did the leg press, flat dumbbell bench press, trap bar deadlift. So if you were in the circuit group, you would do those three sets each in a circuit fashion. Then the remaining 3 were lat pull down, barbell hip thrust, and standing dumbbell shoulder press. Okay. So if you're circuit training, obviously circuit, rest, circuit, rest. Okay. If you are traditional strength training group, you would do one set of leg press, rest 3 minutes. One set of leg press, rest 3 minutes. One set of leg press, rest 3 minutes. Then you move on, flat dumbbell and bench press, and so on. So as you can imagine, the traditional strength training group, not only are they less pushed from a cardiovascular standpoint, the sessions also took a lot longer, right? So what we
Do you know
found,
how much longer it took? Was it like three times as long?
I wish that this was something that we clocked for every single session. On average, the circuit training group, they were done in about 50 to 55 minutes.
Okay.
The traditional strength training group were about 75 minutes.
Significant.
Yes. So imagine you're doing that 3 times a week. That's an extra hour you can get back, right? That's a huge,
Massive.
for most of us who are very busy, that's a lot of time. And to my surprise, we found that both groups gained similar amounts of 3-rep max strength and gained similar amounts of lean body mass, which I think is very encouraging findings because from a practical standpoint, I can say, okay, we know that both training conditions are similarly effective in gaining strength and muscle mass as long as your sets are being pushed close to muscular failure. That is the huge key point, okay? Surprising thing during the study was a lot of the women did not know how to push close to muscular failure, or they thought they were and they had a lot more in the tank still. So I would either give them a heavier weight or have them do more reps, and they'd be like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And their feedback oftentimes was, I wasn't super sure about my form. I didn't want to get hurt, so I was being more conservative. Or they genuinely don't know what it feels like to push close to failure. So that was another thing that was really interesting to me. So we can say, okay, depending on your time availability, your personal preference, your gym equipment availability, you can do either circuit training, high intensity, or traditional strength training to make gains in the gym, right? And then, of course, you have logistical barriers like, but I'm in a busy commercial gym and I can't take up 3 pieces of equipment at once. Cool. I would say you don't have to do these exact exercises. You can modify them so that you can make them more space efficient. Can you do a circuit with 1 pair of dumbbells? Probably. So you have 1 pair of dumbbells in a corner and you're doing 3 exercises from that alone. I think that's very possible. So I really feel like it has expanded the possibilities of what women can do to make meaningful progress in the gym without saying you have to train this one way. So personally, I love the results. I think we can say, okay, we know that there are multiple different modalities that can work for women. Choose what works best for you.
That's great. Give us a bigger toolbox.
That's a great thing. Yes. And then the other thing too was the circuit training group. Obviously, because you're still pushing hard, but the rest periods are a lot shorter, you have to make sure you have the capacity to push that hard. Not everyone does, especially if you're very, very new to the gym. So maybe in those cases, I would say start off with maybe some longer rest periods, or don't push as hard in the beginning until you can build up your fitness over time.
Were there differences in training status among the participants?
They were all required to have at least 6 months of training experience. So beyond that, so technically they were all considered trained lifters.
Okay,
yeah,
amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was really cool.
It's really great because, as you were just saying, it, especially I think in the last 5 years with the hypertrophy community really pushing long rest periods, this is the only way to do it. It's nice because now if someone wants to build more muscle,
right,
now they can say, oh, like, but I don't have as much time in the gym. They can now not worry about hurting their results and also spending less time in the gym.
Right. And I believe that research on the longer rest periods being better for hypertrophy, my understanding, I might be wrong, is that those studies were done where you were only doing 1 exercise at a time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, when you're doing 1 set of leg press, you're going to have better hypertrophy results when you're resting 3 minutes versus 35 seconds if you're not pairing them with any other exercise. The circuit training means that when you're doing leg press and then you move on to the flat dumbbell bench press, your legs are resting for the most part while you're doing the dumbbell bench press, right? So that's the value of supersets and circuits, I think, where if you program them intelligently, you can absolutely make serious strength gains. So that's the other thing too. It's not only about slapping together any random exercises. Obviously, you need a good trainer who knows how to program properly.
I also question in regard to, just doing the single exercise. We know that things like drop sets and
Yeah.
can work very well
Yeah.
from a hypertrophy perspective, which makes me think, okay, is it really the long rest or is it just your proximity to failure?
I
Which
think it's
means
that.
like you could just do like it doesn't have to be 35 seconds, but you could take a minute rest.
Yeah.
And even if your total load isn't as heavy, you could still get similar, if not the same, hypertrophy benefits
Yeah.
with less rest.
Yeah.
As long as you're close to
Yeah,
failure.
exactly. And I think the value of drop sets and cluster sets and similar
Yeah.
advanced techniques, which I included a paragraph about in my study, is exactly that, is that you're getting more repetitions close to failure while condensing time. Because obviously we know now that you can lift heavy for lower reps or you can lift lighter for higher reps, and they're both similarly effective as long as you're pushing close to failure. The problem with the higher reps, some might argue, is that obviously it takes longer to get to that point. So if it takes me 25 reps to get to the point where the last few reps are challenging, that's more time, obviously, right? So when you have cluster sets and drop sets, you're already fatigued because you're resting so much less. So that's my understanding, is that's the value of you're already tired, you're already pushing close to failure. Yeah.
What would you tell someone who's brand new? We'll say a woman who's brand new, she's a complete beginner. I as you were saying, many women, and I would say men too, but many women don't understand what training to failure is. But I also feel like beginners don't really need to train to failure. What would you say like to someone who's new and maybe feeling nervous, like, but I don't want to go to failure, but I also don't want to sacrifice my results? What would you say?
I think training to failure can seem quite scary if you're not used to the sensation. One thing I noticed when I was training my participants in my study was that for the flat dumbbell bench press, a lot of the women, and thankfully I was there spotting them, when they would feel the weight getting heavy or their reps would slow down, they would panic and they wouldn't finish the rep. They would let go of the dumbbells. I don't know if you've ever had that.
No, geez.
At the top, they'd go,
They'd let go?
And then they let go and it'd come towards their face like
Holy
this. And I would
shit.
grab their wrists and I would say, what happened? They go, it got hard and I felt scared. So I gave up. So I think that's another thing you have to teach people is like, what do you do when it starts to feel hard? So maybe we can do a better job of expectation management. Hey, it's going to feel like this. When it feels like this, here's what I don't want you to do. Here's what I do want you to do, or anything like that. But yeah, you're right. Especially if you're new, I think training to failure is less important than simply building the competence and the confidence to be like, oh, this exercise, I can do it. It feels fun and I want to come back. So that's probably the more important thing. But also we know if you're a newbie in the gym, you have so much more leeway in terms of what you need to do to reap any kind of benefit from lifting. Right? You have so much wiggle room in terms of exercise selection, even probably with form to a degree, things like that. So I would say don't overthink it. Find a program and follow it. And use the time, your first few months, to tinker with the weights that you're using and say, hey, does this feel challenging? Do the last couple reps feel challenging? And then how's my form? Can I tweak my form? Okay, cool. Did I have fun? Do I want to come back? Okay, that's good. Let's keep doing that. That's really it. Yeah.
Thank God I've never had someone just drop the weight over their head. It does make me think about the importance of good exercise swaps, though. So, like, if someone is worried about that, they could just go to a chest press.
Machine.
Right?
Machine.
Yeah, chest
And
press.
I think, obviously there's a lot of debate in some communities over machines versus free weights. And I'm like, you know what? Machines have a lot of value too. And one of those huge benefits is, I think, more from a safety standpoint.
Yeah.
And also, the learning curve to learn the movement is way simpler.
Yep.
Sit here and push it. Great.
Easy.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got it. Done. Yeah.
How you mentioned the slowing down of the repetition as a
Yes.
marker of you're
Yes.
getting close to failure.
Yes.
And I'm sure you found, as I've seen, that as the repetition becomes a little bit more slow and as the pain starts to build
Yes.
up, they get scared or they
Yes.
get worried. How do you let people know, number one, that they're getting close to failure, and what do you do to encourage them to say, this isn't where you stop, this is actually the reps that matter most?
Really great question. I think if you let them know the reps are going to slow down, that means it's getting harder, but you can still complete the rep. Right? Over time, you're going to have a better idea of when I get to this point, that means I have 2 reps left or 3 reps left, right? Now, keep in mind that for a given velocity, okay, I'm not sure how much I want to get into this, but for a given speed, right, that dumbbell or weight or barbell is moving, there's still a large amount of individual variability in terms of if the barbell, maybe let's say in a barbell squat, if the barbell is coming up at this certain speed, you might have 2 reps left. I might be able to ground out 6 more, right? So there's that variation too. And I think it's important to pay attention to, okay, for yourself, what does that mean, right? So, and also, by the way, if you're afraid of failing, let's practice how to fail safely too. Like how many times have we seen accidents happen with the barbell squat where they freak out and they tip it forward or it hits their back on the way down, or you never know. So how to dump the bar, how to drop the dumbbells, things like that. Really great practices to, I think, learn from the beginning, especially if you don't have a trained spotter who can be around for every set, which is probably going to be most people. Yeah.
One analogy that I like to use, I don't think it's perfect, but it has helped, is when you're driving and you want to hit the brakes, like, and not like super fast, but like you're about to stop at a red light.
Yeah.
You're slowly hitting the brake, brake, but you don't just let go because it starts to slow down. You have to continue to push and push and push until it comes to a complete stop.
Yeah.
And
that's a great analogy.
That is something I've found is like, okay, so just because it's slowing down doesn't mean I just let go off the gas. Like I have to push it all the way until I'm right about where I can't move anymore. So I found that's helpful. There's also, I think, the conversation to be had around which exercise you're doing in terms of like a barbell squat, for example, which the risk is inherently higher as opposed to something like a leg extension or a glute bridge or something where the risk is essentially zero. One thing that I've gotten many questions about, I think it's a fair question, a valid question, actually a really good question. With all the talk around training to failure, I think it becomes this black and white, you're either training to failure or you're not, but not every set of every exercise needs to be taken to failure. I've actually found that often leads people to burnout. It's like the sessions
and it's
become
scary.
Yeah, it's scary. How do you tell people how many sets per workout, or how do you decide which exercises do you train to failure?
I think the good news is now we understand from the latest research that there's a little more wiggle room with that as we once believed. So we used to believe that training to failure was the way to go. Now we understand that you can actually stop your set 2 to 3 reps shy of failure, and you can actually gain similar results too. I find that to be a relief.
Yes,
I'm sure you do
agreed.
too, because
I hate training to
failure. I don't train to complete failure, never on purpose anyway. If I fail a rep, I'm like, oh, that's because I thought I had that rep and I didn't. That's really it. And so I think from a mental standpoint, it can be really a lot of pressure, stressful, taxing to go into a workout being like, oh, I have to fail all these sets.
It's
to make
awful.
progress. And obviously, thankfully, now we know that we don't have to do that. So I do think that from a stress standpoint, it's a big relief in that regard. And you feel less resistance to showing up because you don't have to push yourself to that point. So I'm a big fan of train heavy, train moderate, train lighter if you want. Train as long as you go reasonably close to failure. You have so much leeway with exercise selection, repetitions, loads, and so on and so forth. All I care is, are you on the gym floor? Are you lifting something in some capacity?
When I was a competitive powerlifter and single and getting great sleep and my life revolved around training, I loved training to failure. It was amazing. I went to the gym, I had these 2-hour sessions, and I fucking loved pushing myself that hard. Now, you saw last night, my wife and I started our workout around 9:30 or 10. And it was like, good fucking luck.
Imagine
dude.
maxing out at
like
9:30.
No, it's just it's a.
Then you're like, now it's time to sleep. That's gonna take a while.
It's just I think people very much overlook the amount of mental and emotional stress that training to true failure actually takes. And so to know, it's like, I don't have to go to true failure. I could go to 2 to 3 RIR and I'm still getting similar, if not the same benefits.
Which is great. Speaking of powerlifting, I did 2 powerlifting meets back in the day. So I was obviously never close to your level by any means, but I was like, oh, I'm pretty strong for someone my size, whatever. It was fun while I did it. But it definitely got towards the end, I felt like with every upcoming lift, because your goal is to increase your absolute strength on the squat, bench, and deadlift, there was a lot of pressure to, okay, I have to hit these numbers today. And the amount of mental bandwidth I would devote towards thinking about my upcoming lift and then stressing if I didn't hit it and whatever, it was exhausting. It was really exhausting. And so especially for most people who have a lot of responsibilities and interests outside of the gym, I don't think we're doing a disservice if we act like it has to be a certain way, where I need to be able to compartmentalize and not have to think about my workout when I'm doing other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm a full-time powerlifter or that's my full-time job,
Yeah.
fine. But we're not that, you know?
Completely agree.
Or I have 30 minutes to do a workout. I'm not going to be maxing out on a deadlift.
It would take the whole 30
Or like,
minutes.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So great news for all of us.
So I have a whole section titled "You Said," and I go through a bunch of things that you've said.
No, did I say that? Okay, great.
There's nothing bad.
Okay.
I usually try and find at least one thing that I disagree on. I don't think I found anything with you that I disagreed on, but I just want to go through just some of your quotes and thoughts. So you said, and I quote, "In my teens, I abused cardio just to burn more calories. Yes. My sole mission with running and swimming back then was to stay small. I hated every minute of it.
Oh, yeah.
Unsurprisingly, by the time I reached my early 20s, I burned out. I stopped doing any kind of cardio altogether." Selfishly, just to let you know, this was a question that as I was writing these questions, coming up with them, I was like, I want to have a very specific question that I can point to my daughters to if they ever go through something like this.
Okay,
so
cool.
that's why I'm asking this.
Yeah.
But what would you tell a young woman listening right now who's struggling with obsessively doing cardio to burn as many calories as possible?
How's that going for you? That's what I would ask. How's it?
You're asking me.
How's that going for you? But obviously not in a judgmental way. Very curious way. Like, do you enjoy it, or are you spending every minute you're not doing the cardio dreading your next session, which is what I was doing. I was thinking about how much I hated it, but I felt like I had to do it to stay small. I didn't know any better, and I would say, how do you feel doing it? How do you feel after? How's your mood? How's your energy? And then I would want to shift their focus to maybe their performance, And
how would you do that? How do you shift their focus to their performance?
How was your run? How did you do? Oh, great. Do you feel good? Okay, good. Do you want to train for time? Yes or no? Obviously, if they say no, I'm not going to be like, you're going to do a 5K or anything like that. Because then obviously that's another negative experience for them. But I'd be like, cool. Or like, hey, guess what? I had a really stressful day and I went out for a 30-minute run and I feel so much better. And even I think subtle things like that, that's kind of more indirect, is planting the seed that reminds them, oh, there's actually more purpose to movement than simply calorie burning. She used it as a form of stress relief. Oh, interesting. That's interesting because for me, it's stress inducing. But for her, it's fun. How did she get there? I wonder how she got there. So I'm going to pay attention to her and the language that she uses around cardio and her mood, her energy before and after. And maybe I can move more in that direction. Because for me, a lot of my struggles in my teens with cardio, I think could have been prevented had I had a positive role model like me now, And I think to me, that's a huge motivation for why I share about my own cardio journey now too, is, if I can show I went on this run today and I feel great. No mention of calories, no mention of whatever, body size, anything like that. And they're like, oh, it's really cool to see someone genuinely enjoying a run. And that to someone who's younger or struggling more might be a new thing to them. They're like, I didn't even know that was possible. And guess what? Like when I was in that era, I was miserable. And what actually got me out of it was one day I was around 14 or 15. I was thinking, I don't want to live like this. I'm so miserable. I hate it. And so, obviously it still took me a couple of years from that, but that was kind of the impetus for, can I get out of this mindset? And I struggled with how to do that for a while, but eventually I got there. And then of course, eventually I discovered lifting weights. I discovered that technically you don't need cardio for body composition purposes. And that's when in the early 20s, I quit cold turkey and I was like, oh, I'm fine. From a body comp standpoint, I was fine. Obviously, we know from a health standpoint, not optimal to completely skip cardio. But yeah, that transformation for me took a really long time. But we can say, hey, look, how cool is it that I'm now in my mid 30s and I'm running almost faster than I was when I was 18. And that emphasis on like, cool, I'm stronger, faster, and fitter than I was in my teens. What? That's possible? And I can emphasize those things without having to necessarily spotlight this is not about calorie burning. This is not about body. You don't have to mention those things, you know? Mm-hmm. I think you can elevate what you want to emphasize, and they can also, it helps shift their attention away from the not great stuff towards the better stuff.
I like that.
Yeah.
Focusing on how it can be something fun and enjoyable.
Yeah. It can be a social activity too. Oh, I go on a walk with my husband in the evenings. That's our quality time. There's that positive experience, you know? Yeah.
After spending many years heavily focused on strength training, as you said, you've recently gotten back into long distance running, including marathons, which is amazing.
Yep.
How do you improve your running and strength training performance at the same time?
So I think that's a really common question that I get now that I'm doing both is how do I balance them both into my, one, how do I schedule them and how do I make sure I'm progressing on both? I would say depends on your goal, right? If your goal is to run your fastest ever half marathon, obviously I would spend more time running. I would use lifting. I would scale it back mostly for recovery purposes, but also make sure you're doing enough to still support your running, right? A lot of people who are running aren't lifting at all. So running, we know lifting is fantastic for running, helping you run faster, helping you become more injury resilient, things like that. If you care more about like hypertrophy, strength gain, obviously I would shift it the other way. And maybe I would lift like 4 or 5 days a week, but then I would run like twice a week instead, you know, scale that back. So you can kind of have an inverse relationship. And if your goal is more general health, you can do like a 3-and-3 situation or like a 3-and-2 situation in terms of frequency. And I keep it open-ended because there really are so many different ways to make this work, and everyone has a different schedule. Everyone has different capacities, but you can have hour-long sessions. You can have 30-minute sessions. All of those can work as long as you're consistent, which I'm sensing a theme here. No surprise, is whatever you can be consistent with is going to be the best thing. So I would recommend ideally a minimum of probably at least 2 days a week of cardio. Duration is flexible. You can always break that up into more frequent, shorter sessions if you prefer. And lifting, personally, I like to recommend at least 2 days a week, 2 to 5 or 6 days a week. Lots of variability. Personally, I'm doing 3 days of running right now. 4 days of running and 3 days of lifting. But I still like to get 2 full days of rest. So that means one of the days I'm doing both lifting and running. And then the others is only 1-and-1. So that works for me right now. My husband's doing more. He's doing like 6 days of running.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. And he hates running.
He actually enjoys it now.
Oh, let's
which
go,
is very
Ben.
interesting.
That's awesome.
Which, again, the shift happened as his confidence built, as he got faster, and he found joy in the progress that he was seeing. Because, my husband's someone who's been lifting for 20 plus years. Obviously, we know the longer you've been lifting, the slower the gains are, right? So he's gotten to the point where his gains are like basically almost a flat line.
Jacked and shredded.
Yes. And he's like, but my running, because I'm still new at it, it's progressing like this. Yeah. It's progressing much faster. And I'm the same way where I'm like, I love the numbers. I love the data. And it's fun to see myself get faster over time. And that's what is exciting for me. That's what's exciting for him. And now he's like, oh, I enjoy it, right? Of course, someone else might not like that. They might find that stressful. They might find it, oh, it's too much pressure. That's fine. Okay, can you do it for go on a run and focus more on how it makes you feel physically? That might be more, an enjoyable experience for you. And that's totally fine too. Yeah, you don't have to do everything with a lot of pressure. It doesn't have to be all about optimizing performance or anything like that.
The cool thing is it doesn't even have to be about optimizing performance, and your performance will still be really, really good and improve dramatically, even if you're not focused on the optimization of it.
Right. And, there's lots of ways to make movement fun, right? It doesn't have to be, a lot of people hate running. That's fine. I'm not offended. I'm not going to make you run if you hate running. Let's find something you do like. Can you make it, can you play pickleball, by the way? Like, that is really taxing. If you're playing singles pickleball, that is a lot of exercise. It's also social experience, right? So you're taking care of that as well, which we know is actually really important for health, is the social, lack of social isolation, really great for your immune system, longevity, everything. So if you can get that and you're having fun, do that. Don't worry about running, right? So I'm like, pick any cardio modality that you enjoy, anything, and stick to that to some level of consistency.
I'm glad you brought up the community aspect.
Yeah.
It's arguably the most, can't say it's the most, but it's arguably the most important one, of just having a good community around you of
Yes,
in-person
actually,
people.
yes, yeah.
And I feel like with social media now, people have this almost false sense of, well, I'm not alone, but they actually feel more alone than ever because they go on social media, they see what people are saying, and then they're like, everyone's a fucking idiot. I hate people. It's like you're isolating yourself more and more and more, even though you have access to more opinions than you ever have before.
Yeah.
It's like, get out in person with real people. And as I'm sure you're gonna say, it's one of the most important, potentially the
Yes,
most important
it really
aspects.
is. It really is. And I also think that, so I think social isolation is one of the most underrated health components. And probably the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is as important as it is, right? So obviously we know from a mental health standpoint it's great, but also from a health behavior maintenance, you're more likely to show up if you know someone's waiting for you.
Yep.
If you know you get to have social hour with your buddies when you're playing pickleball, or that's why run clubs are so popular now, right? You meet people you like and you're like, I can't, this turned into something that I don't really care to do on my own to, I can't wait until 7 a.m. run club tomorrow morning. Because we get to chit chat and catch up and whatever, all that stuff. Probably also a big part of why High Rocks is exploding in recent years too, is the community aspect.
Like
is
CrossFit
the
exploded,
energy, like, I haven't been to a High Rocks competition yet, but the energy that I've seen from the videos, same with CrossFit, the support, the crowds, the cheering, the everything. I'm like, damn, this is electrifying, you know? This is really cool. So yeah, social support is great. And I would even argue that virtual support groups can also be beneficial, especially if you are living, and I've been in these situations too, where I'm living physically in an area where geographically I don't really have a lot of like-minded people around me. So from a physical standpoint, I feel a little bit isolated, but I find my communities online.
Yeah.
And that's still way better than nothing.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said, and I quote, marathon training and intentional fat loss do not go hand in hand.
Oh, I'm still getting comments on that post. That's correct.
Why? It was a great post, by the way.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. And so I would say this. So my emphasis is on intentional fat loss,
that's
right?
the key
If you
word.
happen to lose body fat while you are marathon training, that is a different thing. Marathon training requires a level of fueling that is counter to being in a consistent calorie deficit. Now, if your goal is simply to cross the finish line, that's something different. Obviously, you can do a lot of things very suboptimally and still cross the finish line of a marathon. That's not what I'm getting at. If you want to optimize your performance, if you want to actually set a personal record and put out your best, you have to top up your body's glycogen stores. When you are trying to shed body fat, that's probably the opposite of what you want to do, right? And if you are intentionally underfueling, but then you're going out there and you're doing a hard interval session where you're pushing max effort on fumes, that is a recipe for disaster. And I see people doing this a lot. They are more likely to get injured. And obviously, you're not going to feel great. I've had some sessions where I was not intentionally underfueling. It feels terrible, right? So I would say if marathon training is your goal and you're trying to set a proper performance record, I would not be dieting at the same time. If you want to pursue intentional fat loss, I wouldn't be running so much. And you know, as we talked about, you don't have to do tons of cardio to lose body fat. In fact, in a lot of times you find that it backfires, especially if the excess cardio or the intensity of the cardio increases your appetite, makes you hungrier, which then obviously leads you to eat more food. Now, we know of a lot of people, and actually this happened to me too, where they train for a marathon, they gain weight.
Yep.
Right?
Happens all the time.
Yes. And for me, I knew it was happening, and I was like, you know what? I'm very body neutral now. I'm okay with it. This has a purpose. But of course, when I'm trying to get in, 300 plus grams of carbs a day, your calories are going to be higher. You have higher nutrition calorie needs to support the level and the rigor of the marathon training that you're doing. You have to eat more, right? So I'm listen, if you want to lose body fat, let's do a moderate sprinkling of cardio, enough for health purposes and maybe for a little bit of calorie burning purposes. But we don't have to go nuts on that at all. As we know, when it comes to fat loss, nutrition is the primary driver of creating that calorie deficit. And most people will find that it is much easier to eat 200 fewer calories than to burn off 200 calories in the form of exercise.
I think
Yeah.
I completely agree. I
Yeah.
think the main issue is when people try and use running long distances as their method of fat loss. And
Yeah.
people are like, "Hey, I want to lose fat. Oh, I'll do a marathon." Like that's a really fucking bad
And that's
idea.
a huge time commitment too. That was my biggest struggle with it actually, was how much time it took up. And the other thing that people don't think of, which I didn't think of as a teen either, I was only thinking about the calories I was burning during my actual formal exercise session. I wasn't thinking about the number of calories I was burning outside the workout, which by the way, accounts for the vast majority of your calorie burn every
Yep.
single day. It's not your actual workout, it's everything else. It's your food, the energy it takes to digest your food, it's your basal metabolic rate, it is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. My sitting here and fidgeting is still burning calories. All of that accounts for a much bigger chunk of your energy expenditure, you know that, than a 30-minute run or even a 60-minute run. Especially if you're petite like me, you're really not burning many calories from exercise. And some people, when they realize how few calories they're actually burning, they might be very disheartened.
It sucks.
Yeah, you're like, oh, cool, I've been putting in all the time for what? But you're like, listen, now you know. Now you know. So you can pull back on that, get your time back. And the other thing too is if you exhaust yourself during your workouts, you might be so tired that you are basically immobile the rest of the day. So then your total calorie burn ends up potentially being less
Yep.
than if you'd done less cardio and had more energy throughout the day to move around, do your errands, and fidget and everything.
People don't realize there's often a compensatory response.
Exactly.
Which they'll like go
Yes.
super hard in the gym,
Yes.
but then they'll just literally lay down,
And
watch
that
TV.
has definitely happened to me before.
Yeah.
Where all I can do is go to the gym and back, and then I'm on the couch the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, how many calories did I burn? Very, very little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You said, and I quote, "This is something I don't like to admit, but a lot of my identity and self-worth
Oh,
is
gosh,
tied to
yeah.
my work.
Yeah.
You can enjoy what you do and have an unhealthy relationship with it,"
Yes.
which I thought was a wonderful quote.
Yeah.
What are you doing to improve your relationship with work?
Well, I would say this is not the thing that I'm doing to help improve my relationship with work, but I still really enjoy it. So I think what happened a long time ago was as I was pulling myself out of my disordered eating phase, I kind of shifted into work, you know?
You took that
Into
obsession
my
to your
career.
work. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can relate to this where I am a very driven person and I'm like, oh, I'm not actively trying to keep up these unhealthy habits anymore. So now I'm going to put my focus on creating content for social media, on creating this product that I can launch, things like that. And I think that the thing that's hard for me is with my career, the ROI is really great. The harder I work, the more time I put into it, the more I get back. And I'm like, oh, that's so fun. It becomes really fun. Of course, it becomes this self-perpetuating cycle where I want to do more, right? And I'm like, yes, I'll work through the weekend. Yes, I'll work late into the night. Yes, 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 yes. But then, of course, all of a sudden, if things aren't going quite the way that I want, or if things feel slow, I'm all of a sudden like, oh my God, like I'm spiraling, right? Or I try to take some time off and I can't enjoy my time off. And of course, I recognize that. And I'm like, I don't want to be this person, right? I don't want to be this person who can't relax when I'm not working or has to step away on a Saturday afternoon to go to her computer because that's what she knows and that's what's comfortable for her. So personally, I feel like past year's been really good where I take intentional time away where I'll be like, okay, Saturday, we're going to go to the dog beach and we'll spend the entire day out of the house. And it's not about work, right? And I have a lot of fun. And then I come back and I'm like, oh, my career didn't implode while I was gone. Everything's great. And in fact, come Monday, I'm more excited to work again. So it's actually okay. So I feel like it's a lot of kind of like exposure therapy,
Yeah.
Where I
Yeah.
have to kind of test myself and put myself in slightly uncomfortable situations and learn over time through repetition that it's actually okay. And by the way, if you take a week off posting, who's going to notice? Really, besides you. It's fine, right? And you know this. You and I have kept up a social media presence for well over a decade. You can take breaks here and there. It is totally okay because, again, what matters is what you do consistently over the long term, right? And personally, I love what I do. I genuinely love what I do. I love looking up research papers. I love preparing social media posts. I love videoing. I love editing. I love doing all that. I love interacting on social media. And I'm like, if I want to keep this up over the long haul, I cannot burn myself out. we know people who that's happened to. I don't want to be that person. I still want to be here 10 years from now, 15 years from now, still going strong. And I think that's a really cool idea. And if I want to do that, I have to have a balance, you know?
It's a really perfect comparison to the people who get obsessive with their workouts.
Yes.
And they
Same.
get, I don't want to take a rest from my workouts. Like they go on vacation, they're like, they get pissed at their family if they miss a workout.
That was me. Yeah.
Same thing. It's like, listen, you could take a fucking week off.
I would go on vacation and miss dinners with my family because I was like, I'd rather be in the gym. I have to tick off this workout box for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was completely missing the point. And another good reminder is, you know, being healthy is not only about what are your workouts looking like and what does your diet look like. It's what does your social life look like?
Mm-hmm.
What is your rest looking like? What is your stress? What is your free time looking like? Are you filling it with fun and play? Because doing nothing but working all the time, that's not good for your health.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And I think if we take a step back and redefine what health, or like actually not even redefine, that's the true definition of health.
Correct.
Right? Is what does it actually mean to be healthy? Is can you actually spend time with your two girls and be present for them? Because that's really healthy. But when you go to a fitness coach, they might not mention that as one of the things to do. But it really is. It's a really huge part of your mental well-being and joy, you know? So I'm trying to do that. Hence, you know, the pets that I look after, things like that. And the efforts that I would go to, like to prepare a meal for a friend. Those things are well worth my time. Even though I'm not actively working, to me, it still helps.
I see a great comparison between, you know, owning a business, having your own business, which is like you can get so obsessed with it.
Yes.
Because you know, it's your baby, it's
Yes.
what you've built, it's like your reputation, it's what you love and what you care about. And I feel like people who don't own their own business, but they do care about their fitness, you're the CEO of your body in a way, right? Like you're almost like you
call the shots.
You call the
Yes.
shots. This is
Yeah.
like, and people like they don't want to see their progress go backwards. They don't want to lose their progress. They don't want to ruin anything. It's like I feel like for people who are really into their fitness and get really obsessive with it, even if they don't have their own business, they can almost see what it feels like because this is your baby.
Yeah.
This is what
Yeah.
you're working towards.
Yeah.
And so it's I see, and listen, I've struggled with it as well. Like I get super involved in my work and my fitness, but it's taking that intentional time. You know, I'm going to take some rest. Recently, I've been taking Fridays and Saturdays off work, which has been great for family stuff. And just like by the time you get back to it, it's amazing.
You're like, oh, I'm ready.
You're refreshed.
I'm ready
you're
to do it.
go.
Yeah.
Sort of like taking rest from the gym.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that you have to learn through trial and error.
Yes.
Because I feel like you probably have been this where you go from like no exercise to like all the exercise, and all of a sudden you're exercising 7 days a week and you're terrified I've taken a day off. And when you take a day off, you're terrified. You're like, oh, there goes all my progress unraveling in one day. And you're like, okay, actually, guess what? It takes a lot to undo of your work. And that goes for career, that goes for exercise, a lot of things. So also you need to take breaks, and rest is productive. Also, you don't have to earn your rest either, is something that I'm still trying to tell myself. You know, like how many times do you're relaxing? Well, I think you're better at this than I am. You're relaxing, let's say in like the middle of the day on a weekend, and you're like, this feels illegal. Like this feels wrong. What am I doing? Like I should be working right now. I should be earning my rest. And I'm trying to continually remind myself, no, it's okay. It's totally fine. You don't have to do it.
What does success look like to you?
Oh, what a great question. Well, any kind of success?
You decide.
I think success to me means living life the way that you want in a way that is meaningful to you. And I feel like I've obviously kept that really broad. And to me, I feel really good about myself when I feel like I've done something to positively impact others. And it's not only about other people, you know, my pets. Can I be a great pet parent? Can I be a really good daughter? Can I be a great family member? Can I be a really great wife? Can I be a really reliable friend who shows up for people in her life? Those are the things that make me feel good. And that to me is what it means to be successful. And then of course, from a career standpoint, can I create content and create products and services that positively influence my audience? And if I feel like it's helping them, I can feel really good about that.
What to you is being a great wife?
Being supportive. You know what? I read something recently. I'm going to butcher the wording. It was something like this. Inconvenience is the price to pay for relationships. Okay. And it was basically talking about if you want to prioritize relationships, you're going to have to go out of your way for them. For example, one example, the other week, my husband was on a marathon training plan. He decided to run a marathon on his own around our neighborhood. Okay. It was like
I love him.
12 laps, something like that. 12 laps of the same route over and over. That's kind of hilly by himself, right? And it's hot right now. He had to wake up at 4 a.m. by himself, was out the door at like 6:10 to do his marathon attempt. So I got up with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? Because if you're racing, not having spectators there makes a huge difference, right? So I was like, well, he's not going to have crowds there, but I can at least be there every time he passes the house with my little signs that I've made for him. And I'm tired. Yeah, I like my full night of sleep. Great. But this is more important. So I'm going to inconvenience myself willingly, wake up early, and every time he's doing a loop, I'm going to sneak back in the house and write another sign.
I love that.
And hold it up for him. And I'm going to be his water girl. I'm going to throw him electrolytes and gels as he's passing by. I'm going to film content for him. And that's a really great example to me of what it means to show up for someone. When he had his book launch in January in London, because he had a UK publisher, I flew out to London with him for 2+ weeks. And, put my own stuff aside for the time being so I could prioritize his huge career accomplishment. That's what it means, right? Is showing up even when they're not explicitly asking you to, because he even said, you don't have to wake up for my marathon attempt. You can stay asleep. I'll see you at the end. And I was like, are you kidding? I'm not doing that. And to me, I think showing up for people, literally showing up for them is really, really important to me, So if they have done something really well, you're there to celebrate that with them. If they need your support, you're there to support them. So that kind of thing. That's what it means to be
I love that.
A great partner, a great friend, anything. Yeah.
I think you do a great job of that. From
I'm
what
trying.
I think you do a great job.
It's really fun. It's really fun when you enjoy your time with your partner so much, with your spouse.
It's the best.
Yeah. We love hanging out with each other too much all the time. Yeah. That's all we want to do. Yeah.
You said emotional eating isn't inherently bad.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the human experience.
Yep.
But it shouldn't be your sole coping mechanism.
Correct. Yeah.
How does someone know if their emotional eating is unhealthy, and how can they improve their relationship with food?
Yes. Okay. So I find that when I say emotional eating is not inherently a bad thing, some people get surprised. They're like, what do you mean?
I loved that you
And I'm
said
like,
that.
oh, sorry. When it's your birthday, you never have a birthday cake? That's emotional eating. You're celebrating. You're happy. Are you actually physically hungry for the cake? Probably never. But you do it because it's part of culture. It's part of tradition, right? And you're like, oh, great. How celebratory dinner. You're celebrating.
Yep.
It's like you have positive emotions. So, and also, by the way, even if the emotion is negative, I think it can be okay as long as you understand, okay, this is serving the purpose of temporarily soothing my negative emotion of boredom, of sadness, of anger, whatever. And it's not the permanent solution, but it's going to help me feel better for now, and I'm okay with it. Then I'm like, listen, own your decision. That's fine. It is a problem when that is all you know how to do when you feel any type of emotion and you're not actually addressing what's happening. So I would say keep the emotional eating as one strategy of several others in your stress coping toolbox, so that sometimes it's you go for a workout. Sometimes you call a friend. Sometimes maybe you simply want a mouth feel of something. Can you have some hot tea or something instead so your mouth has something to do? Can you read a book? Can you journal? There's so many other things that you can do that gives you a bit more balance in your life. Maybe the stress coping mechanism is addressing the root cause of the stress. Because sometimes turning to food is an avoidance strategy, And if you're otherwise practicing super healthy habits and maybe, 2-3 times a month you have a bowl of ice cream when you're really emotional, I don't care about that. That is nothing. That's nothing. So I don't always feel like emotional eating is necessarily something to be fixed, but I do think that a lot of people have impulse problem, right? Where they feel something and they react. They do not pause right? My friend and colleague, Dr. Amelia Thompson, who is fantastic, she calls it cultivating the pause, where you learn when you have a feeling, pause, think it through, and choose an intentional response that aligns with your values. That can be really hard to do. I'm still practicing that sometimes. But, you know, if you want to be someone who's like emotionally mature and da da da, I don't think face planting into a bowl of cookies every time you're upset is the answer, right? So when we're talking about behavior change, can we change that habit loop where the behavior is, or the trigger is, I feel this emotion, specific emotion. Can I name the emotion? This is my usual response. My usual response is to turn to the kitchen pantry. Okay, can we replace that response with something else? Choose something, plan it out. Have 3, 4, 5 options. That way, the next time that emotion occurs, which it will, right? And to expect us to never feel negative emotions again is unrealistic. It will happen. But now we're better equipped. We're better prepared to respond in a way that is more aligned with how we want to live our lives. Yeah.
I think part of your legacy when all is said and done will be you've done a tremendous job of removing guilt from trying to remove guilt from people. And
especially when you understand that guilt actually perpetuates the binge eating cycle.
Exactly. And so I feel like this is another example of you're reframing emotional eating in a way that's
it's not a bad thing.
Guilty.
It's neutral.
Yes. There's a spectrum here, but you can do it in a way that's actually healthy.
Yeah.
And the issue becomes if you are emotionally eating and then you feel guilty about emotionally eating and you use that as justification to continue emotionally eating, that's when it becomes negative.
Or you then resort to a compensatory mechanism like I'm going to do extra cardio tomorrow to burn off, and then the cycle continues.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things I love about your messaging, especially over recent years, has been let's remove the guilt from this very neutral behavior so that we can actually be more objective and aware of it and come up with better coping strategies.
Yeah. Also, you want to feel guilt over food?
Yeah.
There are many worse things in life to feel guilt, to actually feel bad about.
Correct.
Eating a little bit of extra food is not one of them.
Agreed.
Yeah, really.
You said there is zero reason to adjust your exercise based on what part of your menstrual cycle you're in.
Yes, I knew. Okay, yes. Let's talk about cycle syncing. Okay, cycle syncing, is the idea that you need to adjust your exercise effort and intensity and modality according to what phase of your menstrual cycle you're in. Now, this is based on very weak research, and there's actually more research showing that that is not the case. Now, we have basic term, auto-regulation, right? Everyone should be auto-regulating their workouts. This simply means adjusting your workouts according to how you feel on any given day, okay? This is not the same as cycle syncing. Everyone is going to have different days. Some person who menstruates might find that, yes, during specific phases of her cycle, she consistently feels really, really bad or really, really strong, and she can adjust her workouts to her own symptoms. Me, I feel fine. Doesn't matter what day it is. My performance is more affected by my sleep and my nutrition and my stress more than anything else. So for me, there is no reason to change my workouts ever based on what phase that I'm in. Okay? So we know now that cycle syncing is yet another myth that has become popular because I think a lot of women love the idea that we are unique and we need to do things differently. To me, the news that cycle syncing is a myth is more empowering because a lot of the cycle syncing research that has been criticized says we should be taking half the month off lifting. Half the month? We're already not lifting enough, And so it's more empowering. Great. We don't have to adjust and pull back ever unless we're actually not feeling good. And so I also think from a business standpoint, a lot of people are pushing cycle syncing as a way to profit off women.
Correct.
From a predatory standpoint.
Yes.
And of course, that bothers me too. So I would say there is no need to adjust ever based on your cycle alone. The other criticism as well is that, one, people have different cycle lengths, even month to month, right? It's not like every cycle is like 7 days, 5, whatever. Every month to month can be different. Also, a lot of times we don't even know what phase we're actually in. And if you're on birth control, all of that is moot anyway. So what are they supposed to do? You know? So cycle syncing, great idea in theory. The research does not support it. That to me is a really good thing.
It seems like just another variation of like something like the blood type diet.
Yeah,
where it's you get so specific about you as the individual and you think that you're a special butterfly because whether it's because I'm a woman or because I have this type of blood or whatever. And it's like, hold on. Let's look at how certain foods make you feel.
Yeah.
Let's look at how you feel individually during this time of the month.
And you can adjust from
adjust
that.
for you, but not based on whether you're in the luteal phase or what have you. You get to decide.
Yes, and you can have someone who might be in prime condition on a specific day, and they might be set to have the best workout of their freaking life. And then they learn about cycle syncing and they're like, oh, I have to do gentle yoga today.
Yeah.
And then they skip their actual lifting session.
Yep.
So in that regard, I really don't like it.
That's similar to me with HRV stuff. When I think there's a time and a place for it, but also when people see, oh, my HRV, I'm supposed to have a bad workout today. It's like sometimes I've had the best workouts of my life when my HRV said I was shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've had shit workouts when my HRV said I was like at my peak. I don't like the idea of having someone or some piece of technology tell me how I'm supposed to work out. It's like, how about you just listen to how you feel, as you were saying, auto-regulate.
Yeah.
Just listen to how you feel and go by that.
And sometimes you don't feel so great and then you do your warm-up and then you feel better. Mm-hmm. So when we say, oh, when you're bloating and cramping, take the whole week off, it might not be a whole, maybe it's one day that you need off. Maybe the workout actually helps you feel better.
Yep.
So maybe you should still show up anyway. So I understand where people are coming from. I understand why the idea is so popular, but it's simply not true.
I have one more you said. All right. And this one, I thought this was really fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastic in that it was very interesting.
Okay.
Blue zones are a very popular topic.
Oh, yes. Actually, I almost brought them up earlier in the podcast. Yes.
So you said we shouldn't be looking at blue zones as the epitome of health and longevity. Why is that?
All right. So this was based on a video I posted last September. I distinctly remember. So as it turns out, so I think I even started the video, are blue zones a scam?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
It was a
and
hell
of
a
course,
hook.
it's going to get people being like, what? Because you and I probably grew up, oh, blue zones are fantastic. They're doing everything right. And that's why they live so long. And da, 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 da. As it turns out, a lot of the data is very questionable. There's a lot of fraud happening.
No.
With people, they'll keep older family members, pretend that they're still alive so they can collect pension checks, right? Or their birth records are actually missing, so they don't actually know how old they are. So anyway, basically a lot of the data is skewed, right? And we have people who live in those blue zone regions. Sometimes they actually say, I live here and we're not that healthy. We're not as healthy as the world claims us for us to be. But with that said, that doesn't mean don't engage in exercise, don't eat vegetables, blah, blah, blah. I think the principles still apply, right? The concept is still very much valid in that exercise, vegetable, whatever consumption, and social support. That's the one thing that they have strong communities. And
work-life balance.
Yes.
Work-life balance is really important
and
for them too.
That's the thing that, once again, I think gets overlooked is the idea that do you have a lot of good people in your community? Because that is probably going to do more for your health than a lot of the other nitpicking stuff that you're obsessing over. So blue zones, they're whatever, right?
It's just interesting data, but
There's
can't
no
take
need,
data.
Yes, there's no need to put those specific cities and regions up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Even so, we can see some themes we can pull from that and try to emulate that and encourage other people to do as well.
Yeah. Nutrition-wise, probably a good idea to have more fish.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of rice.
Right.
Get some steps in. These are all great things.
Yes.
Have a good community around
Yes.
you, work-life balance.
Yeah.
But also, I just loved it from the perspective of it's like data can be fudged very easily and for reasons that you would have no idea why it was fudged. So I just thought it was really interesting that people would pretend someone is still alive so they can continue to get this pension check.
So yes, there were cases where someone had their parent had been dead for 20 plus
I think
years.
you said 30 years.
Yeah, okay, yeah, 30 years. They were lying in bed, rotting away. They were a corpse, a skeleton. And because no one actually came to physically check on them, they wouldn't know. And they would simply report them as, oh, they're still alive. Give me my checks. That happens. That's, obviously very upsetting, but it does happen. Please don't do that to me when I'm older. But imagine you're like, yeah, my dad's home, but he did, but he home. Like,
he's technically home.
Technically, you didn't ask if he was alive. He's here though. Like, I'm sure that, it does happen, unfortunately. So yeah, let's not worship blue zones, but let's do practice all the other healthy habits still.
Yeah.
Those are still very much things that we should be doing. Yeah.
I think one of the most underrated components of health and fitness and longevity is probably finding ways to reduce your stress. And I feel like we're finding so many ways to increase our stress now, whether it's over artificial food colorings or seed oils. Like, I honestly think that the stress that you're having over what you're eating is causing more
100%.
harm to your health long term.
That is worse for your health
than actually eating it.
And I think that, and obviously I'm not trying to diagnose anyone, but I think we're seeing the spread of what looks like orthorexia.
Yes.
Very much, where we have this unhealthy obsession with being healthy to the point where you are becoming so myopically focused on tiny little details that really make little to no difference.
Yep.
And you're forgetting the big picture. So great, you're trying to ban artificial dyes. Who the fuck cares?
Thank you.
What difference is that going to make in my health when I'm not really eating that stuff anyway?
How much of that are you actually
I joke about loving Cheetos, which I do. I brought a bag here last night. I already finished it. I love Cheetos, but realistically, I eat it maybe once a month.
Yeah.
So if you remove the artificial dyes from that, it's going to make fuck all difference in my health.
Doesn't matter.
Am I allowed to say that?
How dare you?
I was like, do you have to bleep that out? I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah.
There's
so many other things that I would rather you tackle first before that.
How about increased access to healthcare for everyone?
Correct.
How about feeding children?
Yep.
Because you know what's going to get them killed is having no food.
Yep. Yes.
Sorry, I'm getting worked up now. I need to calm down. Do you know that TikTok sound?
No.
Never mind. It's not relevant. I'll show you guys later. It's really funny. Okay, yeah, but I don't care. I don't care about the artificial dyes.
Yeah.
And we talk about. I know you made a post recently about alcohol, actually, and you're like, yes, I know it's not good for my health. I don't care. And I'm like, that's my point. Is we know alcohol is a carcinogen.
Yeah.
We know alcohol is not good for your health at any dose, not even one glass. But my goal when I talk about these things is not to scare people from drinking alcohol. It's to help you make an informed choice.
Yeah.
You know that. You still want to drink. That's your decision. I'm not going to sit here and lecture you. I don't care. That's your life. That's your health. But also, if you are exercising regularly, if you're moving, if you're doing everything else, is the occasional glass of wine really going to make that much of a difference? Maybe, maybe not. That's, again, it's your prerogative.
Correct. Yeah.
But if you really want to tackle the big things, how can we have more safer public access for walkable paths, for playgrounds, for children to play in?
Yep.
Those are the things that we should be obsessing over. And so I really feel like, even though some people will say, okay, but the artificial dyes being banned is still a win. One, this is the nature fallacy, which is the idea that things that are natural are safer. We know that's not true.
Yep.
Two, you're still putting a lot of effort into this thing that makes little to no difference when those efforts could be going to other things that could have a much bigger positive impact on us as a society. That's my problem with it.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
People have allergies to natural occurring things as well.
Yes.
So be like, we have allergies to the dyes. It's like, okay, people have allergies to naturally occurring substances as well. And one thing I found interesting is when people are like, oh, well, I know for a fact that my kid or something reacts differently to red dye. It's like, are you feeding them just pure red dye?
Right. And that's the problem with anecdotal evidence. That's the problem with N equals 1. This was my personal experience, is you have no controls. You have all these confounding variables.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, was it seed oils that were the problem? Or was it the fact that you were eating tons of all
Fried
these
food.
nutrient devoid foods that happen to have seed oils?
Yes.
And when you cut all of that out, you feel better.
Yeah.
So seed oils are not the problem. It's everything else that you're doing alongside it. So seed oils, artificial dyes, I don't have a problem with it. Actually, we know that seed oils, if anything, have health benefits.
Yeah.
which I'm continually baffled by the opposite messaging around seed oils.
Anyone who's involved in the research of seed oils is baffled by it.
Yeah.
Any of like the actual authors of these studies are like,
It
what
is
the
good
fuck
for your
is
health.
happening?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then, people bring up extreme arguments like, well, you shouldn't be eating XYZ too much of this anyway. And I'm like, you shouldn't be eating too much of anything in excess.
Too much water.
That can go for water. That can
Yes.
go for apples. Like you can get sick from eating too many grapes, too many cherries, like all these things. And so
Yep. I mean, even people. I'm
tired, man.
A lot of these people are like, they're the same people who are like, oh, you need electrolytes. It's like you could go to the hospital from too many electrolytes.
Oh, that was my other. I did a post on electrolytes and how you do not need 3 packs of liquid IV a day if you're sitting around not moving at all.
You don't need 1 pack if you're sitting around not moving. At all. You don't need it.
You don't need it. We've gone most of our lives with straight up water and we've been fine. Now, if you're exercising hard, if you're sweating a lot, yeah. If you have a medical condition such as POTS, yes, there is an argument to be made for those kinds of things can be helpful.
Potentially breastfeeding.
But again, it's a case-by-case situation, and it's not a blanket. The more you drink, the better off you are. The electrolytes are so popular these days.
Oh my gosh.
But I think my goal with those kinds of posts is not to say never take electrolytes. It's don't use it as a blanket. This is a replacement for water.
Correct.
No matter what. And it's always better to have electrolytes in your water than not. That's not the case.
Correct.
Right. So
a lot of people say I do it for the taste. I'm like, I wouldn't.
That's very expensive. First of all,
and dangerous. There are a lot of people die.
You can flavor your water in other ways too.
Exactly.
In cheaper ways that are less excessive.
Yep.
But I mean, I used to do that with branched chain amino acids too. I would use it as a water flavor, and I thought about how much money I was spending on it. I was like, never mind. I'm fine with that. Yes. Yes. But again, this is good news.
Yes.
You guys we don't have to spend this money on all these supplements. You don't have to fear these ingredients. You don't have to throw out all your favorite snacks. I'm not getting rid of my Cheetos. Hell no. Also, by the way, when you change the ingredients, it's probably going to taste different. Yep. I don't want that to happen either. So personally, I'm happy with my food dyes. Please don't take them away. And of course, someone might get mad when I say that.
They will.
But they will take it out of context.
I got torched yesterday.
Yeah,
I made a whole post about it.
And I see arguments about artificial food dyes when people are like, well, I'm forced to feed my kids these. I'm like, no one's forcing you to feed them to them.
Yep.
That is your choice. You have agency in this.
Mm-hmm.
If you are going to feed that to them, which I'm very much an all foods fit person, I would much rather, instead of teaching my kids, hey, this is good, this is bad, I would try to teach them more about like these are the foods that we should be eating more often, and here's why.
Yep.
But these are foods that we can still have sometimes, and we're allowed to enjoy it, and they're fun foods, and you should never feel guilty for eating them.
Yep.
But you can have a handful of Skittles, and then the rest of your day should be filled with like fruits and vegetables and the more nutrient-dense foods. But the Skittles still have their place in your diet, and the tiny amount of artificial food dyes is not going to do anything. For your health.
Yeah.
Positive or negative. You're fine.
What is the least amount of exercise you can do and still get results?
Okay, let's talk about exercise snacks, okay?
Okay.
Exercise snacks is the idea where you can do not a full workout, you can do a few minutes of exercise, bursts of exercise, even literally 1 minute bursts of exercise throughout the day, and you will still reap health benefits.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. There is actual research on this. I love this because it really drives home the idea that there is no such thing as too little exercise. That's no longer worth doing, right? I think a lot of us are stuck in the mindset that if we can't do a full hour at a fully decked out commercial gym, working ourselves into the ground, then it's not worth doing any exercise at all. We actually know that even if you have 1 minute to bust out some push-ups or 1 minute to do some running up and down the stairs, and you do that throughout the day, whenever you have literally 1 minute pockets of time, you can still improve your fitness in that way. Now, of course, if you're trying to run a marathon or have more specific, ambitious goals, yes, of course you need more. But we're talking about general fitness, general health. No amount is too small. And I love this because how many of us get stuck in overwhelm? Where we're like, I have to do a whole hour? Or I legitimately do not have the time. Okay, but you have one. Anyone can make time for 1 minute a day. anyone. And oftentimes, the other thing I like about this is oftentimes getting started is the hardest part. So once you have that momentum going, that 1 minute down, it is oftentimes easier. I'm already here. I'm going to do another minute. I'm going to do one more. And how many times have you done lifts where you're like, do one set, see how you feel. Do one set. Oh, that wasn't so bad. Okay, I'll do one more. And then all of a sudden you've done a whole, 45-minute whatever workout. So it's kind of a similar concept where do whatever you can realistically fit in, and it all adds up over time.
I was telling you last night, this is the impetus for adding
Exercise
workout
snacks.
in the inner
Yes,
circle.
perfect. Yes.
Also, one of the things about you were talking about the burst throughout the day, like a 1 minute burst. This is where I really love something like the grease the groove method, where it's like you treat these bursts not as a way to see how many I can do, although that'd be fine, but as practice.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily go to failure. You're just like, let's say push-ups, for example.
Yeah.
I want to try and get 5 perfect push-ups every time I go into the kitchen.
Yeah.
Or I want to do like 5 or 10 perfect squats every time I walk by the bathroom.
Yeah.
And you treat it like a skill development, which then you obviously get the exercise benefits, but then you're also working on improving your confidence and your self-efficacy with the movements, which will then lead to strength gain when you actually go to the gym.
And the thing that's great about those exercises is that you don't need to warm up for them.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
They are
I'm not
warm-ups,
saying do a max deadlift with the 1 minute of
Right.
You have to exercise. Obviously, that's not appropriate. But pull-ups is another great example. And with greasing the groove, you can have a pull-up frame on your door, and every time you pass by a specific room, can you bust out a couple pull-ups? Because that absolutely adds up over time. It is worth doing for sure.
I know you're not a fan of what I eat in a day posts, but I am curious what your nutrition looks like.
My nutrition is probably the most flexible it's ever been. I would say when I was marathon training, I was a bit more intentional about my calorie and carb intake, as I've mentioned, because I had to train for performance. And the research shows that you want to be consuming if you're doing like 90 plus minutes of endurance cardio a day on average, you want to be consuming at least 6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. Okay, so for me, that's over 300 grams a day. I knew that if I was not being very meticulous with that, I would not meet it. I'd be like, maybe 200, maybe 150, right? So in those cases, I was like, okay, for this purpose, I was temporarily tracking my intake for performance purposes. And it was very interesting because I did talk to some people about that, and they thought it was intriguing because to them, they only ever track their food for physique purposes, for body comp purposes. And for me, I'm like, no, I'm trying to eat more. I'm trying to make sure I eat enough calories and enough carbs. And they were like, that is so interesting to see. I've never seen anyone do that. And I'm like, listen, when I don't get my carb intake, I can feel it in my performance the next day. My workouts aren't as strong. I'm not as fast. I don't hit my times. I can tell. I would say now that the marathon training is done, I'm about to go into another one very short next week actually, but for now I'm good. My husband always says you have the healthiest eating behaviors of anyone that I've ever known.
That's
and I'm
amazing.
like, thanks. I'm not paying you to say this, but like, thanks. So, I'm super, super balanced. Once again, no foods are ever off limits. And so I'm very much an intuitive eater now. And that has a lot of misconceptions too, by the way. A lot of people think intuitive eating means eat whatever you want. That's also what I thought it meant. A huge component of intuitive eating is honoring your hunger and fullness cues. We know this. But it also means practicing what's called gentle nutrition. Gentle nutrition includes the idea of fulfilling your actual nutritional needs. So when I can add in an extra serving of chicken into my meal because I know I need the extra protein, some people are like, well, that's not intuitive eating anymore. Yeah, it is. That's gentle nutrition. Because I'm doing it in a very, again, a gentle way it doesn't feel forced. I'm not following a rigid meal plan, right? And I'm also honoring what I want to eat. So a lot of times I'll wake up when I'm home, I'm like, what do I feel like eating? Oh, I'm going to have ramen for lunch. And some health coaches are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're eating ramen. I'm like, girl, I'm Korean. What do you expect? But I will add an egg. I will add some extra protein. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? There's really no fiber in here. I'm going to add some beans into my ramen. And it becomes or maybe some spinach, right? It becomes a much more nutritious, balanced meal. And so I'm huge on adding eating what I want, adding what I need. I did not come up with that phrase, so don't credit me, but it's a great one. Eat what you want, add what you need. Okay. And so every day can look a little bit different, but as I was texting you before I came out here, I'm a big starchy carb person. I've learned over time what foods help me feel the most satisfied. And that is some form of starchy carb. Rice, potatoes, noodles are big, mostly rice or potatoes. And also in terms of satiety, for me personally, whole eggs and avocado go a really long way. And so when we talk about having balanced meals, I grew up thinking the lower the calorie the meal was, the better, right? So I would always try to cut calories as much as I can. I was not thinking about how my satisfaction from one meal would then impact the rest of my day's eating behavior. So I learned over time, when I can add whole eggs or avocado to a meal, I will feel, even though, yes, they're higher in calorie, they're a fat source, they will keep me more satisfied for longer. So I'm not back in the kitchen an hour later poking my head in the pantry looking for a snack because I ate enough of the right foods to feel satisfied. And when we talk about food and the right combination of foods, I also think we should also talk about what's going to give you mental reprieve, because the idea of food noise, right? If you don't, obviously there's a lot behind it, but one of the main drivers of food noise is you're not eating enough and you're not eating enough of the right foods. I get food noise when that happens to me. If I have a meal with no carbs, I'm not satisfied. I will be snacking the rest of the day, And so I'm really big on what's going to help me feel the most satisfied while still giving me the nutrients that I need to perform the way that I want to perform.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a great overview.
Yeah. So I would say on a day-to-day basis, I don't know how many calories I'm eating, but body comp is not my goal right now. So that's fine. I'm more of a general health, general fitness person. And personally, I want to put more of my mental energies into pursuing other projects not related to how I physically look. Yeah, that's kind of where I am right now. Is that a good?
That was a wonderful answer.
Yeah. So like legit, you'd be like, let's go to Korean food. I'm like, great, let's go. Actually, I want pizza. Great, let's go. Like I refuse to be that person ever again who's like, but what are the macros?
Yeah.
Oh, it's too high fat. I can't eat that. Like I've done that. I don't want to be that person anymore. I feel like it makes life more annoying.
Yep.
It's more important for me to have that social connection. I don't care where we go. I want to be with you.
Yeah. I love that.
Let's eat some yummy food anywhere. Let's go. Let's do it. Great. Done. Yeah.
I have 3 more questions.
Okay.
That was great.
Yeah.
When you're looking back on all the many years you've spent training, whether it was strength training or running or whatever you've done, what was your favorite time period in your own workouts?
I really like my current era.
Good.
I think I've come to a place now where I really enjoy feeling strong. And it's not only about physical strength. I really enjoy feeling strong in my running workouts. I really enjoy being like, even if I'm not, again, I've been lifting for 17 plus years at this point. I'm not going to have serious gains in the gym anymore. That is okay. But where the sets, every working set feels solid. It feels good, And I'm like, I leave the gym being like, oh, I'm in a better mood now. I have better energy levels. All that's really great. And I feel extremely balanced. I feel like even my why behind running now is fun, right? I can't wait for my next run, right? I'm about to do 4 miles with Derek Stanley this afternoon. I can't wait. It's going to be great. Not, oh no, I can't wait till it's done. No, I can't wait to do it because it feels really good. And so I have a lot more enjoyment out of what I do now because I understand, I have a much deeper, meaningful why, which, by the way, there's also research that shows when you have a deeper reason for movement beyond simple, pure aesthetics, you are more likely to keep it up over the long haul. So when we have exercise instructors yelling about tone your thighs, blast the fat, burn the calories, it might help get people in the door as far as signups go, but in terms of long-term adherence, it's actually not that great.
Yeah.
And so for me, I love the idea, and I can see the impact this is having on my audience as well, and people in my app too, when they say I love the workout because now I can do XYZ outside the gym. The transfer into your everyday life is phenomenal. The benefits it has to your body image is also great, especially if the focus is not on changing the way your body looks and you're emphasizing how do you feel? Do you feel strong? Is it increasing your confidence, right? It can definitely help your body image. And we did find this in my study as well. And helping your functional independence overall. I had a participant in my study in one of the questionnaires. She said, I was moving heavy boxes this weekend and my boyfriend tried to help and I said, no, I got this.
I love
And I was
that.
like, that is so cute. I love this. I really love this. And she's like, no, I can do this. I don't need your help. I'm good. And I'm like, okay, we need more of that. We really need more of that. And when we think about, again, it's not only about how much you're lifting, is this transfers into your everyday life. Don't you want to be doing things until you're old? Going up and down the stairs on your own, lifting heavy things on your own, not needing help, putting your carry-on in the overhead compartment on the plane. Those are things that we should be able to do, and we can keep it up. And by the way, there's never, I feel like I'm going off on a tangent here,
please.
but it's never too late to start lifting. We have people who start lifting in their 70s. Research on this as well. You can start lifting in your 70s and still gain strength and muscle in your 70s. And so I have people in their 40s be like, I think it's too late. You got so much time. Start now. Start today. Start tomorrow. And don't worry about obsessing over details. Pick up a weight. Do it until it feels tiring. Rest. Do it again. Rest. Continue. Find something else. Do that. And you can always tweak things, improve your programming, improve your form over time. That's great. Yeah. So I really love where I am right now. But I also know that, if we ever have like kids in the future or anything like that, obviously I'm going to become a lot more time poor. So I'm enjoying the luxury of the extra time that I have to devote to full hour plus long sessions for the time being, knowing that it's probably not always going to be the case where I have this much time. And so I have a very much really grateful attitude without sounding too crunchy. I'm like, you know what? How lucky am I to be pain-free? I'm so privileged to have this time. I'm so lucky to have a private garage gym, to have an air conditioner facing me while I'm running on the treadmill, to have the access to the resources and the knowledge and everything to be able to do what I do. And I don't want to take it for granted. And I can get out of bed. I can jump out of bed. I have no pain. When I run, when I walk, when I lift, nothing. Everything feels great. And not everyone can say that. And I'm like, never want to take it for granted. Yeah.
What are you scared of?
Losing people I love. Yeah. Were you being very general here?
You get to decide.
I'm scared of losing people I love. I'm scared of letting down people that I respect. I'm scared of feeling like I didn't live my life authentically, but I'm not doing that, so that's not a problem. I'm scared of not meeting my fullest potential. And of course that can be interpreted in many ways, but I also don't, I'm afraid of being boxed into one hole. So I think that's why I'm being even more intentional now about doing different things with my time and not being only a fitness educator or only a content creator. Like I took baking classes this year, like cake decorating classes this year. And I'm like, I have many tools in my toolbox. It's fun, and I think, I'm scared of living my life in a way that would let myself and others down. Yeah.
What are you excited about?
I'm excited to create more content. I'm excited I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this. I'm excited to start my podcast with my husband.
Of course.
Which we've been working on actually behind the scenes for several months. I think that'll be a really fun, big but fun project. I'm excited to continue growing my app. That's been something I've been working on for like 3+ years. Momentum by Sohee. I'm excited to start training for my next marathon. I'm going to be doing the New York Marathon this year, November 2nd.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm. I'm like kind of scared, but also kind of excited. I feel like I need a redemption marathon because the London Marathon, I finished it, but it did not go quite the way that I wanted. It was really freaking hot that day and I struggled. A lot of people struggled. So I'm like, I feel like I need to come back with cooler weather conditions and do it again. And I'm really looking forward to what else comes up in my marriage. It's really fun. I love being married to the right person, obviously. It's really fun. And I'm like, I feel like we talk about this all the time. I'm like, we've done so many fun things together in the almost 6 years we've been together. And I feel like we have so much more ahead of us, fun things happening. And I'm excited for all of it.
Thanks for coming on,
Yeah.
Sohee. This has been
Thank
great.
you.
Where can people follow you?
My username is Sohee Fit across every platform. I'm most active on Instagram, but I'm also on Facebook, TikTok, Threads. My website is soheefit.com. So if you can get a hold of my website or my Instagram, you can probably find all my stuff from there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please make sure you give Sohee a follow. We'll put all of her links in the show notes. Please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Please leave a written review on iTunes or Spotify. They help to grow the channel. They are immensely, immensely important. So thank you to everyone who's done that thus far. And if you haven't, please go do it right now. 5-star review. Have a wonderful week. Talk to you soon.